Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Luke Johnson out in California with the black and gold. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, Saints getting ready for preseason game number 1 against the Cardinals. We'll certainly talk about that, but I want to talk about the news of the day, which was Pete Werner getting a contract extension for a couple of years. Your thoughts on his play over the last couple of years and how he fits into the Saints' plans moving forward?
I think the first 2 years of Pete Werner's career were really, really good, and I think there was a lot of optimism for what he could turn into in this defense, especially playing next to Demario Davis. I think they complemented each other really well. Last year, even though the statistics were the best of his career, he played in a career-high 16 games, career-high 93 tackles, forced a couple fumbles. His coverage skills kind of dropped off, and pretty drastically. You look at the Pro Football Reference advanced stats, he allowed an 80% completion percentage when he was in coverage, 101 quarterback rating. PFF graded him as one of the bottom 10 linebackers in coverage grades last year. So it was concerning, and I think that's the Saints challenged him this offseason, both in terms of their words and in terms of their actions. They went out and signed Willie Gay, and the general idea was that he was going to compete with Pete Werner for the weak side linebacker position, which, considering the fact that they're in their sub defense, nickel or dime, about 80% of the time, that's a lot of snaps. So I think Pete Werner really responded to that. And that played a little bit of a role in this. But, the fact of the matter is that for the most part of his career, he's been a very good young linebacker, very dependable. And I think this is just tying into the team through 2027, and the team gets him at a pretty reasonable contract. I think it's pretty good for Pete Werner, considering some of the off-ball contracts signed by linebackers this offseason. But he's slotted kind of right in the middle of the pack in terms of what guys are making in the NFL. I think that makes a lot of sense for both sides.
So do you expect to see Willie Gay more or Pete Werner more in the regular season, assuming everyone's healthy?
Just based off of the first, this was the 13th training camp practice today. Pete Werner's been out with a shoulder the last couple days. But just based on what we've seen so far, I think it's still Demario Davis and Pete Werner when they're in those sub-defensive packages. I think there's going to be a role for Willie Gay, though. It's not going to be quite like the Zach Bond role where he's only playing 8 or 9 snaps a game. I think they're going to try to take advantage of his athleticism and let him go out there and make plays. But I think when we're talking about just what is effectively their base defense, I think the starting linebackers are going to be Pete Werner and Demario Davis.
You had a report yesterday, Saints kind of kicking the tires on an all-pro safety. What do you know as of today?
At the last we heard was that Justin Simmons left Irvine, California this morning without a deal, but I don't think that's a sign of this thing not coming to fruition eventually. They're going to be traveling out to Arizona tomorrow. They won't be back here in Irvine, California till Sunday. I think they got a couple days to kind of negotiate and see where the other side's at. But the meeting apparently went well. It extended into dinner last night, and I think I've felt differently than some other people have felt about the safeties room. But I think it needed an upgrade, and I think it still needs an upgrade. Jonathan Abram and Jordan Howden and Will Harris all do some things well. But I don't think any of them are close to being like the kind of complete package that Justin Simmons is. So as long as the money works out, I think this could be really good for both sides here. They're really good for the Saints. I mean, their secondary would just be stocked with all pros, Pro Bowlers, exciting young players who are on the upswing of their careers. I mean, they could be really, really good if they're able to make something happen with that.
You have any idea what a timetable might look like?
If I were just guessing, I would say they'd probably figure something out by this weekend.
Okay.
But it could push into early next week, and he could very well not sign. I mean, we've seen some movement in the free agent safety market in the last couple weeks. Quandre Diggs signed last week with Tennessee. Eddie Jackson signed, I think, on the first day of training camp with Baltimore. Jamal Adams found a new home early in July. So it was kind of frozen up until that point, but we've started to see some action. So maybe another team wants to kind of get in on it. I think from the Saints' perspective, it all just kind of depends on where the money stands. So I think they pretty clearly have a lot of interest in the player.
Let's talk about Saturday. What is Dennis Allen kind of looking at approach-wise with his starters, big picture? None, some, young guys. What do we think?
I wish I could tell you, man.
Yeah.
He's really been stubborn with that, saying that he hasn't talked to the team or the coaches about it, and they haven't. I mean, come on, man. Like everybody knows that he knows exactly who's going to play. I get not wanting to talk to the media about it before you talk to the team about it, but seems like you could have probably had that conversation a couple days ago with the team and had the conversation with the media about it. I don't know. That's just me. I'm looking at it from my perspective, but he is giving us absolutely nothing as far as who might be playing, who might not be playing. Last year, Derek Carr played in, I guess it was only the first preseason game. He played one series, and that was pretty much it for him and most of the starters. I don't know if they're going to follow the same thing this time. I mean, my gut says probably no. But I mean, they are debuting an entirely new offensive system. I think they could probably use some game snaps to get some of that stuff down. So, we'll see. I mean, I could be totally wrong, and they could play their starters. They could play them for the whole first quarter. I mean, the kind of traditional preseason rules with when you play your starters, kind of gone out the window the last couple of years. So it's just kind of a mystery at this point.
What positions are you interested in seeing, with the understanding we don't exactly know who's going to be out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's got to start with the two guys competing for the number 2 quarterback job. I think both have been really impressive in this camp. Now they got to show it in a game setting. It's different, even if it's a preseason game. I think Jake Haener was super impressive throughout all of training camp last year, and he kind of flopped in the preseason. So they got to show it in the game setting, and I'm really excited to see what they look like out there. Spencer Rattler had another just great day today in practice. He hit Kevin Austin for like a long pass on the left sideline, and then he hit him again for a touchdown in the 2-minute drill. I think Jake Haener also looked exceptional in practice today. Really, the only quarterback who didn't look great in practice today was Derek Carr, and that was because Chase Young and Carl Granderson were in the backfield on every play. So I think that's really the primary one for me. And obviously, like I really want to see some of these kicking competitions play out in the game setting. And I think that's a completely different atmosphere than it is in practice, especially for like the punters, where it's really hard to get a good sense of how they're doing from like the sideline view. And then Charlie Smith, who's this really interesting rookie kicker from Ireland, who up until last year never even stepped foot on a football field before. I mean, he's got like this crazy strong leg. I mean, we saw him hit one from I think it was 62 or 64 in practice the other day, and I legitimately would have been good from 70. Really interesting player, just not consistent. I kind of want to see that play out in the game as well.
One thing you said there that piqued my attention is that Carl Granderson and Chase Young were living in the backfield. That's really good because they're good pass rushers, and the Saints are going to need them, but there are guys that are supposed to be blocking them that have got some issues. So tell me about the other side of that with the offensive tackles.
Yeah, I think like I'm having trouble like reconciling all this, right? Because I think the pass rushes looked really good, and that's like first team, second team, third team. Yeah, because they've got because they're 5 deep there. They've got Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey rolling in with the third team, and those are first and second round picks. But at the same side, a little concerning, right? I mean, that was a whole concern coming into this season, was how was the offensive line going to hold up. I do really think that Tali Flonga, their first round pick, is going to be a very good player. I think he's going to go through his growing pains, though. People have to be patient with him. Every single thing we hear about him is just like glowing positive, and you can see the really good reps are really, really, really good. But he's kind of been thrown in the fire here against some really good pass rushers who are having really good camps. Trevor Penning, I just don't know. And part of the thing with him is, guys have been like very open about how they're trying to get his confidence up. So then when they're praising what he does, it's kind of hard to parse through that because they obviously don't want to go out there and do anything that's going to hurt his confidence. I think he's done some really nice things in camp. I think he's looked really good at points. And I think there's times when he looks like the player who he's been the first 2 years. So that's one where like I fully expect him to be out there for like every opportunity in this preseason. I don't think they're going to rest him by any stretch. So like we're going to have to watch closely because while I think he's made strides as a run blocker in particular, I think the scheme really fits him. Like the thing that they need to count on him for is when it's 3rd and 12 and the defense knows that it's going to be a passing play. Like, can he hold up? I think that's still a very much an open question.
Luke, safe travels and enjoy the football over the weekend. We'll talk next week. Thanks, man.
Sounds good, buddy. See ya.
Follow him on Twitter at @ByLukeJohnson, Saints reporter for the Times Pick and the Advocate with the black and gold out west as they'll take on the Cardinals on Saturday. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.